I'm Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, published by Simon & Schuster Saga Press. Going to do another book review here today. We're going to be doing The Hunt for Red October by Tom Clancy. I apologize. I'm not filming in my regular spot down in my writing studio. I'm up here in my library. We had a bit of an accident. We were remodeling the writing studio. We had a bit of an accident with the carpet and some paint. So now we have to get new carpet. So the writing studio is turned upside down. We will get back to normal setting soon. I know the lighting in here sucks. Actually, the lighting in all my videos has sucked, but it's going to suck a little bit more here now. You're just going to have to bear with me. Anyway, The Hunt for Red October, let's talk about that. That's why we're here. Look at it. Tom Clancy's debut novel, published in 1984 by the Naval Institute Press. He could not find a regular publisher that would take this on. So he had it published by a small press called the Naval Institute Press. And this is a copy. I mean, this says Naval Institute Press right on it. So man, did the Naval Institute Press score with this huge, massive hit of a novel, which became popular because Ronald Reagan, the president at the time, was reading it, and he mentioned it several times, saying, hey, it's the best thriller I've ever read. And man, did it take off. And then Tom Clancy became one of the biggest selling, mega selling superstar writers of all time, especially huge in the 80s and 90s, back when I started reading. We always discuss the covers. We always discuss, I love graphic design. I love the cover artwork. I think this is simple yet elegant. I think with thrillers, that's kind of the way you need to go. You don't need to get too fancy. I think some of his other ones, I mean, got a bunch of them here. I got every Tom Clancy book ever written. Let's talk about The Hunt for Red October. It's about it. Tom Clancy is one of my favorite thriller writers. If you watched my top 10 favorite writers of all time, you know that Tom Clancy finished high up in that list. So I love this guy's thrillers. He's probably my favorite thriller writer. However, The Hunt for Red October, it's not my favorite Tom Clancy book. I'll just get that out of the way right now. However, it's pretty good. I think it suffers from some beginning writer sort of pacing issues and structural issues. But who's going to complain about that when the thing went on to sell like 50 million copies, right? He did what he set out to do, and it was successful. I grew up in the 80s, back when the Soviet Union and Russia was, it was a big deal. That's who we feared. We thought they were going to nuclear bomb us at any moment in time. And The Hunt for Red October plays off of those fears. Now, The Hunt for Red October, Tom Clancy says, was inspired by the mutiny on the Soviet frigate Storoshevoy. It was a Soviet frigate in the 70s, the Storoshevoy, where there was a mutiny that some of the Russian soldiers wanted to defect to the United States, and they were going to use the frigate to do it. And that's where Tom Clancy got his idea for this Hunt for Red October. The Hunt for Red October is about Ramius, I think it's Ramius, the Russian submarine captain he's put in charge of the newest, most technologically advanced nuclear submarine, ballistic missile submarine that the Soviets have. And they're going to take it out on a test run. And I'm telling you, I read this as a kid back when the Soviet Union was like, they were the bad guys in the world, according to Americans, They were the evil people. And I was reading this, and I remember the first scene where Ramius steps onto the submarine, right, with all of his crew. And he kind of steps into his own cabin or some other guy's cabin. I think it's his own cabin, and he breaks the guy's neck, because that's the one guy that's not on board with his plan, right? There's one guy on the sub that's not on board with his plan, and he needs to get rid of that guy. So he breaks the guy's neck. Well, anyway, the submarine takes off and it goes rogue. And the Russians are like, what's happened? The submarine has gone rogue. And then the Americans get wind of it, that there's a Russian submarine that's gone rogue and it might be headed for America. And so the Americans are like, what are we going to do? This thing is coming for us, and it's full of nuclear weapons, and it's underneath the ocean, and we can't find it because it's the most stealthily designed submarine in human history, and it's just untrackable. And it's coming for us. The Russians have lost it. Our spies are telling us that the Russians have lost this submarine, and it could be coming for us. It might be a fake, it might be a ploy. The Russians might be playing us. They might just say that it's been lost, but they know what they're doing. Hey, we lost a submarine. No, we didn't. We're actually sending it to you to blow you up. So the Americans were thinking all of this, and they're like, what are we going to do? And then along comes Jack Ryan, our hero, our Tom Clancy hero of all the other Tom Clancy books. So along comes Jack Ryan. He's just an analyst for the CIA, and he's thinking to himself, I know this Ramius guy just a little bit, and I think he might be using that submarine, him and his men might be using that submarine to defect from the Soviet Union to the United States. So let's not just jump to conclusions. And so now he's got to convince the entire government that this is what's really going on, so as to stop a big nuclear war. And that's the setup for The Hunt for Red October. Now, I'm assuming everybody out here that's watching this video has probably already read this, or at least watched the movie that came out in 1990 starring Alec Baldwin as Jack Ryan and Sean Connery as the Russian sub-captain Ramius. Yeah, everybody's probably familiar with this story. But I won't give away spoilers. I won't tell you what happens at the end. I won't tell you whether the United States gets nuclear bombed or if Ramius and his crew defect to the United States. But it's tense. It's intense. I think the one thing that drags this book down lower on my list of Tom Clancy novels is because it's his first. The pacing is a little weird and wonky, and it's not so much focused on Jack Ryan as it is on Ramius. And we all know that Jack Ryan becomes the hero of all of the Tom Clancy books. And so I kind of like reading about Jack Ryan most of all when I'm reading Tom Clancy. But since this is probably 60% about Ramius and maybe 40% about Jack Ryan. I mean, Jack Ryan doesn't even show up till about a fourth of the way through the book. That's probably why I don't like it as well as a lot of the other Tom Clancy novels. That being said, it is still a really, really good thriller. It's a bestseller. I mean, it's launched one of the greatest mega hit superstar writers' careers of all time. So, it's a very good book. If you have not read Tom Clancy, I will tell you now, I would not start with The Hunt for Red October. I would actually start with Patriot Games, which I'm going to be reading and reviewing next. It's right there. I would start with that one. That one is a way better novel to start with. Hunt for Red October, The Hunt for Red October is full of a lot of technical stuff. Tom Clancy's known for all of his technical knowledge. If he mentions a submarine or a tank or a machine gun or a pistol or anything to do with the military in his books, he writes every detail about that weapon or weaponry or airplane or whatever it is that he's talking about. He knows every detail about it, and he likes to put his research into his books. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't like reading them. It's one of the reasons I like reading them, though, because I love that detail. Hunt for Red October has quite a bit of that. Whereas Patriot Games is just kind of a straight-up thriller, which I think is a better entry point into the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan universe. Hunt for Red October, though, gets, in my opinion, a solid 8 out of 10 stars. It is that good of a debut.